Today I give you an in-depth look on how I groom and fill in my eyebrows. This video is the first in a new series that I am starting here on this channel called Beauty Basics. It is great for beginners, people or young gals who are just starting out, starting to apply makeup for the first time and kind of want a basics on what to do. These videos will also be great for gals who have been doing makeup for a while but would like a refresher, or just to see how someone else does their makeup, just the different basic things like foundation routine, skincare routine, how to just basically apply eyeshadow. Today's video is gonna cover all things Natalie's eyebrows, from the very untamed, bushy, needing to be trimmed. So I'm gonna cover the grooming part of eyebrows and take you all the way through to the end on how I fill in my eyebrows, the products that I use to sculpt and perfect my brows. I have been a brow gal since way back before brows were even that popular. Right now, brows are all the rage. Beautifully, perfectly Instagram sculpted brows are so popular and so trending right now, and I definitely don't go that far. As you can see, my brows aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me. So for the general grooming of my eyebrows, I use a couple of different tools. So first of all, I have a spoolie brush, just very basic, and then I have a pair of angled tweezers. Revlon is my favorite brand for tweezers, in case you were wondering. So first of all, I am just going to brush my eyebrows in the direction that I want them to go. A lot of the time, my eyebrows will do their own thing. Some of the hairs will be curving down, some will be going crazy up. Half the time I look like Wolverine, and that is when I know that I need to really pay some attention to the hair above my eyes. I usually brush my eyebrows upward so that it will show me where the extra hair is that I need to go in and pluck. So for beginners, I'm just gonna give a quick overview on how to tweeze an eyebrow correctly. With your tweezers, you're going to want to take a hold of the hair that you are pulling out and grip tightly, making sure you're not pinching your skin. I have done that before. Oh my goodness, that is a very painful experience. And you're going to grip that hair and pull it out in the direction that it is already growing. You don't want to go against the hair, as is common when you're waxing other parts of your body. You want to go with the direction of the hair. If you go against the direction of the hair that you're pulling out, it is more painful and it can actually leave a scar on your skin, which nobody wants, especially in a very delicate area like your eyelids. So I continue just to tweeze those brows, generally following the shape that my brow is already in. So any extra hairs that start to grow underneath here on my brow bone and then out here, sometimes I will have hairs that grow really far out. They're very sparse, but they like try to connect with like sideburn hair, if that makes sense. And so I will just clean up this area, clean up under my brow bone, and as I am working, if I'm working under my brow bone on this side, I'm then going to go to my other side and work on the brow bone. If I'm working on the very outer edge of my brow here to where it connects to my sideburn on this side, I'm going to do the same thing on this side, and I work back and forth and back and forth, and that really ensures that I'm not over tweezing on one area and then having to overcorrect on the other side. After I'm done working underneath my brows and on the end of the tail here, I'm going to move to between my eyebrows, which this hair is the most sparse because this is the part of my brows that I first started tweezing back when I was 9 years old. I started to get the little unibrow going on, and so I would just tweeze up here. Those hairs have been tweezed so many times that they hardly grow back anymore, but there is the occasional stray, so I will clean up between there, but I am really careful not to tweeze too close to where my actual brow is. The last part that I will tweeze, if at all, is above my brows. Now, I don't really do this very often because when you start tweezing above your brows, you really start to drastically change the shape of your brows. And if you're going for more natural brows like I do, you really want to stay away from that area. Now, of course, I will get those brows that start to grow way outside of the natural line, and so I will, of course, tweeze those out. Once my brows are pretty even as far as the grooming goes, it is time to do a tricky part of my grooming, which doesn't have to be too scary, but something that I avoided for a long time. And that is actually trimming the hair of your brows. This step is the one that makes a huge difference when it comes to filling in your brows later on, because it gives you a very crisp guideline to follow. So what I do is I take a brush, like a makeup brow or eyelash brush, and I brush my hairs so that those hairs are sticking straight up and look pretty wild. Then I will take a pair of grooming scissors. They can be like fingernail grooming scissors, or they actually make grooming scissors for eyebrows, and I will trim them to that level where my eyebrow naturally is. And I will do a little bit on one side, repeat the process on the other, go back to the first one and see if there's any more trimming to do. If there is, I will go back to the second and do the same thing on that side. Again, working so that both brows are being groomed back and forth, and so that they turn out to be pretty even. Now, everyone has brows that are uneven. No brows on any one person's face are identical to each other. That's just how it is. We are not perfectly symmetrical. So it is okay, of course, to have one eyebrow that is a little higher than the other, and those things can really be fixed or just sort of balanced out when it comes to filling in. So to start filling in my brows, I am going to brush my eyebrow hair in the direction I want it to go. And then I'm going to take my e.l.f. eyebrow pencil, which actually has one of these spoolies on the end of it. I love that it's built into that pencil. It's an automatic pencil too, so you never have to sharpen it, which I love. And it's only $2 at Target, which is great. So I will start filling in one side from the front of the brow to the middle. And I stop there to make sure that I am filling this in a nice, even, straight line. And then I will continue to draw that down in a downward direction on the outside of my brow. I will then do the same thing to the other brow, going from the inner corner straight over, filling in any little sparse area that might happen there, and then moving in a more downward direction toward the end, toward the tail of my brow. Now I go to the first brow and I work from the top over in a straight line to that same arch part, and then I work in a downward direction over in the tail, connecting those two lines. Of course, I do the same thing over on the other side, and my left side is my problem brow, and so I actually need to take this arch, this spot where I stop, kind of the middle point of my brow. I take it out a little bit further because this, my non-problem brow, actually extends a little bit farther than this one does. Now I'm gonna go in and color in any sparse areas, making sure that those two lines meet seamlessly. I also use the built-in spoolie of that pencil to disperse that color evenly. Those pencil marks can actually be brushed through the rest of the brow to some extent. That way you're not loading up your brow with a lot of product, keeping it looking as natural as possible. Now I'm going to go into the center, and this is where things can start to look unnatural. So if you're like me and you want to keep your eyebrows looking natural, the way I do it is I use a very light hand when it comes to the middle of my brows. I am going to work in upward strokes, going with the direction of the hair, and very lightly draw fake hair basically in that middle section. My problem brow, my left brow, is a much farther over, so I have to build up this side a little bit more. Of course, like I said before, everyone's a little bit different. That's just what I have to do to make sure that my brows are looking as even as I can get them. And the last step that I do for my brows is to carve them out. So first we groomed, then we filled in, and now we're gonna carve out. And this is really gonna make your brows pop. It's gonna make them stand out compared to how you were doing them before, if you were doing them at all. And it really makes them enhanced and locked into place. So for this, you want to use any concealer that is just a bit lighter than your skin tone. Any darker and your brows will look muddy. I just trace all the way around my brows on the outside, making sure to clean up any parts that I may have gone a little bit too far. And then I am going to blend that out with a beauty blender. Once all of that is blended out, I'm just going to take a very little bit of translucent powder and pat it on the places that I put that concealer just to lock it into place. And that is pretty much it as far as the brows go. I saved this step so that I could show you live what I'm doing. I don't like to use a brow gel, especially not a tinted brow gel for this part. I feel like it makes my brows look really crusty and fuzzy and very caterpillary, and that is definitely not the look I want to go for. But if there's a brow gel that you love to use that doesn't do that, please leave it in the comments below, because I am on the lookout for a good brow gel. But the method that has been working for me really well is to use a setting spray. I am using this little small version of the MAC Fix Plus, and I will just quickly spray that onto my spoolie brush and flick off any excess that I have. And then I will just brush that through my brows. When you set that concealer with translucent powder, sometimes you will get fallout on your brows, and then that looks kind of fuzzy and ashy, and you don't want that. So using the setting spray really helps. You can also use the e.l.f. setting spray, which is one that I've used a lot. And you just brush that through your brows in the direction that you want your brows to go. So basically on the front part of my brow, it's up. And then on the back part of my brow, on the tail, I just slide it down. So up on the front part of your brow and slide down on the tail of your brow. And it sets it into place because there is glycerin in this product. It's on the tacky side, and when it dries, it has a glue sort of effect without being like super glue like some of the brow gels that I've used. And it also has a mattifying effect, so it's gonna make it so your brows aren't like shiny and wet and glossy looking, and they're not gonna look cakey and chalky and dull looking at the same time. So that is why I really like to use a setting spray, especially the MAC Fix Plus, for setting my brows. So there you have it, ladies, my step-by-step process of how I groom and fill in and carve out my brows. I love interacting with you gals in the comments section, and I would love to be there for you if you have any questions. So if you do, please leave them in the comments and I will be sure to respond. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to see the rest of my Beauty Basics video series that I will be having on this channel throughout the summer. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.